Welcome to the People's Revolution podcast. This is a space where we share stories from activists around the world. We hope that these stories inspire you to act locally as we share globally.
I don't have a problem with you. This generation, look around, there's nothing left to do. Liberation, take one final step and then you'll see the complication. System don't belong to you or me.
Welcome to the People's Revolution podcast. We're going to start today, as always, with a land acknowledgement. So, a recognition that we are on stolen land is not enough when the genocide we call history still continues today and is reinforced by the daily lives of those unaware. Residential schools only closed their last door in 1997, but the mentality of the residential schools lives on. White people, imagine living in a place that not only normalizes genocide but actively covers it up. We don't live here because a peaceful treaty was signed. We live here because white people before us brutally pushed their way in. This includes the current government, RCMP, and church, and we need to acknowledge this and the harmful systems it brought with it before we can even attempt to create reconciliation. It's a privilege to not know you're living in such a way that makes a genocidal reality seem like regular everyday life. I would still like to recognize that the stolen land I am speaking from is rightfully the home of the Blackfoot Nations and was forced to be the home of Treaty 7. This land is the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Nations where the Siksika lived and practiced their oral traditions as far back as existence goes. These nations are Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani. Treaty 7 was signed on September 22, 1877 in a brutally unethical way. This treaty was not upheld. Treaty 7 includes the Tsuut'ina Nation, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, and the Métis Nation of Region 3. So this space known as Calgary is rightfully known as Mohkinstsis. And today we have Liam O'Neill from the Calgary Society for Equity in Technology, a local volunteer-run collective that aims to offer low-cost classes in technology to the Calgary community. Hi, Liam.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I'm very excited.
I'm trying to look at the camera.
Perfect. You've done so much cool work in Calgary over the years, and I just want to jump right in and get you talking about what the school is. You want to tell us about it?
Oh yeah, so it came out of the Calgary School of Informal Education. So we did a bunch of basically it was like an anarchist free school, and so we taught any community member could teach a class to another group of members. So we had lots of stuff. I was looking at the document you said, like we did like Japanese classes and like self-screening, and there was a bunch of people involved, but I think everyone started doing their other projects too, and everyone just kind of like went their own ways and like started doing lots of rad stuff, which hopefully they'll be on your podcast one day. And then it kind of folded, not in a very dramatic way. Everyone's just like, oh, we got to do our own thing. And then I realized I like doing the tech classes the best. So we kind of restarted it. And then COVID kind of hit. But there's a bunch of people involved, especially Melvi. Melvi's like the other main person currently. So then we started doing a bunch of tech classes like Python and electronics class. We haven't done much because of COVID. We did some like talks. Melvi did some talks. So basically we educate people on tech skills, but also like discuss like issues in tech too.
Cool. Yeah, I was looking through your class list and there's so much variety, I guess, especially because it was the Calgary School for Informal Education before. And then even like when it's specifically about technology, like you guys have some pretty cool classes, like a breakdown of the new frontier by Melvi. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What is that class about?
That was a talk where Melvi just discussed, I think specifically tech issues, like with being a Black femme.
Cool.
So
cool. And I really liked how you guys also made space. You guys had an anti-fascist feminist class. I thought that was pretty cool.
The Calgary School of Informal Education did that. Yeah. Nora Bowman taught that.
Cool. Yeah, that looked really interesting.
So yeah, I don't think it's kind of a little confusing because I guess I just changed the Facebook page, but that's why there's a mix of classes. But
Okay. And so I also noticed you had a bunch of different like femme and queer friendly events. But was that all with the old school, the Calgary school?
uh we're gonna do that again. It's just COVID hit. Um,
Right.
so we're discussing lots of stuff. Melvi has lots of good ideas.
Cool. Very cool.
One of the projects she's going to be probably doing, hopefully, is Black Kids Code. So that'll be her and a few other people teaching. I want to say Python, but it might maybe Java to youth, Black youth.
Cool.
And then we have some other things we're thinking about. We haven't done much, honestly, since the COVID. So there will be stuff specific for that, but this is COVID. And we're having a few other talks too. So we just booked. My friend is going to talk about being a queer artist and why they don't know why they were never supported to learn programming or Arduino.
Oh, yeah,
they didn't get access to the information.
Important.
As like a non-binary person.
Cool.
And how much easier it'd be to be a straight man in tech. So there'll be more.
Yeah, I'm glad you're creating those spaces. They're very, very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Melvi's doing a lot too.
Well, you as well.
Yeah, and me as well.
Definitely. And you guys also had classes like sex work in the digital age. Love that.
Oh yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did that talk. It was recorded, but we were DIY recording it, so the audio wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. Mostly, I think I was recording it. So, but yeah, it was a live discussion between some of my friends that did digital sex work.
Cool. That stuff is so necessary and hard to find. And then when you do find it, the price tag might be a deterrent for some people, but you guys don't charge that much.
No, we don't charge that much. We do sliding scale suggested donation, usually like $10, I think.
Cool. Yeah, I saw some classes for $6 on there. Super freaking cool. So important too. Like free or affordable learning spaces and spaces where you can go like be with other people and actually like learn together. Like the classroom style setting, I think is way overpriced, and that we need to take that back.
It's a hard balance between paying the teacher fair and charging a fair price.
Definitely. But I mean, with all of this, it sounds like you guys have a good next year coming. Or do you plan on doing things online, or are you going to move back into in person?
I like in person because like with computers, it's mostly online, so people don't really socialize. I think it's also easy to learn in a group setting. So we'll do like online talks, but I'm partial to in-person learning.
What's the favorite class that you put on?
Favorite ever or? I mean, I taught a Sonic Pi class without really knowing Sonic Pi. We just went through the tutorial. Really, that was my most stressful, best class because it worked out.
What is Sonic Pi?
Oh, it's like a programming language that you like a live programming language used to code live music.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. So like you all learn together.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What is the class that you're most excited about coming up? Do you know what you have coming? Or is it too soon?
It's too soon. Too soon.
Too soon.
But we have some good ideas. There's like I think I'm most excited for when Mel V starts teaching the coding class.
Yeah, that does.
Because
awesome.
It's going to be youth mostly, and youth are awesome, and I'm excited for that. And then I'm part of like a kind of another organization. I am part of the organization that's like pretty grassroots. We're going to be doing hackathons for beginners. So
what is that? Tell us more.
So people are going to be coming together, and then I'm not sure which programming language we're doing. I think maybe React, which I'm not like super familiar with, but we're gonna some beginners are gonna come and they're gonna do make a project, but they're gonna be mostly beginners matched with like some intermediate people, and they're just gonna like put together a project in a day
Cool.
and just be like supported by intermediate to advanced people in it. So
Nice. Learning and community building at the same time.
yeah, computer people sometimes are not the friendliest, so it's good to have in person and socialize people
Yeah.
or make it less
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with the way you put inclusive spaces out there, I think that's very important, especially for the climate we're in right now. Just there is a safe space over here. Please come here.
Yeah, we try to
Check it
make
out.
it safe. I don't know if any space is truly safe, but safer.
That's true.
An
That's a good point.
attempt.
Yeah. Yeah. Give it a solid. That's a good point, though. There was one class that really stuck out to me that I wanted to ask about queerness in the Russian Federation. Can you tell me about that
Yeah, I can
class?
tell that. That was also like with Calgary School for Formal Education. So my friend is has a PhD in Arctic studies, and they're a queer person from the Russian Federation. So they just discuss being queer in the Russian Federation.
Oh, that's very cool. So, like a first-hand experience.
Yeah,
Sharing.
from an academic view or viewpoint, and
Oh,
also a lived experience.
that sounds really cool. I mean, if you do more stuff like that in the future, I'd be really into it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, it was like a super good talk, but only one person came.
Oh, weird. I feel like tons of people would go to that.
Yeah, it's you never know,
Yeah.
and for stuff like that, you can't really record it because it's like very sensitive topic. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that one person was very lucky to be there.
oh, I was lucky to be there too.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Well, so the school in what inspired you to create the school? So we can start with Calgary School of Formal Education. Like, what inspired you to bring on free classes as a group in the first place?
Maybe I'm gonna mispronounce his name, but I was reading Paulo Freire. Uh, um, and then the Marxist educator, pedagogy of the oppressed, but also like because I can't afford a lot of schools, so I figured we should start a school that people could teach each other.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that it was created, and it sounds like everyone was really inspired from it and went when they went their own directions. Like I love the way you went, honestly. Like you go into different spaces within the digital world that I don't think like I didn't think about.
Yeah, everyone from it started doing cool stuff. Like Mike Hooves is doing really good stuff, and I think one person's in law school right now, and like so everyone's just doing good things.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I'm for people listening and watching on Facebook, Calgary School for Informal Edu of in, oh, sorry. Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Yeah,
Calgary Society for Equity and Technology. I mixed
hmm
the two together when I said it the first time.
they're kind of together but separate.
Yeah. Would you ever do other classes outside of computers if it was given? Like, would you go
Maybe,
back to?
I don't know. I'm not against it, but I feel like tech is the most focus right now.
You got your focus. I love it. So, what brought you specifically into activism and like maybe even before the schools? But what was your first? What is the backstory to you and your activism?
The backstory, probably this maybe the same as you. I was like a punk in the late '90s.
Oh,
Not very that political, but went to university, partied too much, stopped partying, still kept on like reading, and then kept up with the all ages scene. So I ran an all ages venue in the basement of Ogden.
cool.
So that was kind of like the first thing, and then I was like part of some music collectives and it helps more all ages venues. So mostly the all ages scene and the DIY scene. I think the punk scene.
Cool. Cool. I love that. And yeah, I love how punk kind of molds people into being activists. It's the same thing,
Hmm. Yeah. So I wouldn't completely identify as an activist, but I do activist stuff.
but you put on sliding scale classes for everyone,
Hmm.
but
It's
not an activist.
it's good not to get too arrogant
Yeah, that is a thing. That is
because
true.
everyone makes mistakes. Or I try to contribute to the community.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to look at it. I love it. And what has the journey been like for you going from um, do like DIY venues to moving into a space where you're helping teach people?
It's not much different in a way because you're just instead of dealing, it's a lot easier actually because you're like dealing with people instead of bands.
Yeah,
It's a lot more mellow.
I like it. And
So it's almost the same.
do you have a goal with where your activism is now? Just more cool classes, or is there like a bigger,
There's no big goal.
just keep doing the cool stuff?
Yeah. It's hard of a
Cool.
goal because it never always works out perfectly, especially with activism or like anything. So you just kind of like try to do the best you can.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Hey, well, I like it. You're going cool places, and you came from cool places.
Hmm.
But what do you wish that people understood the most about, I guess, like a lack of available education?
I think the people that understand are the ones that are getting shut out. So the people that have the access to the education, I want them to realize that it's harder to get than you think. It's less
Yeah.
inclusive, especially in computer stuff, tech stuff. Lots of super educated, successful tech people think they're there because they're really smart, but they forget that they're also there because their parents were rich or they had a
Mhm.
lot of privilege.
That's true. School is frickin' expensive.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
I
there,
think
yeah.
it's worth it, but it's very expensive.
Mhm. Yeah, and you definitely do need some sort of financial boost to be there, no matter what
Hmm.
it is, which is definitely a hurdle for a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people are not there completely on merit. They think it's all on merit, but it's not. That's a lie.
Mm. I
There's
think that's
lots
a
of,
really, oh,
oh,
sorry.
sorry.
I was gonna say that's a really important point, but please go
Yeah,
ahead.
there's lots of people in the tech world that are smarter than some very successful people, but they just don't have the opportunity
Mm.
or the confidence because um, tech tech wizards are not exactly the most friendly people,
Mm.
or the internet is not the most friendliest place sometimes, as you've probably seen.
Never. It's never, very rarely. But yeah, I can. It's great that you've created a space where people can come learn without those barriers. But
Hopefully, we hope we're trying.
yeah, yeah, that's a really important point though. Like a lot of people may not think about the value of school when it comes to having certain privileges or having people that are able to pay it for you or like you're able to take out a loan. Those are all things that
Hmm.
are major hurdles for people.
Yeah, it's so if we offer free classes or cheap classes, people can learn those skills and then kind of do their own learning after. If we just teach them that they're smart and they can do it, then Google is a great tool. Like Googling and documentation is great, but getting people in and just teaching them that they're smart is the most important because anyone can learn programming in tech. They just need
Anyone?
the, I think anyone, they need the confidence.
I'm pretty bad at it, but I'll
But
maybe
I
come to
mean,
some of your classes.
it takes a certain level. Like some people are obviously going to learn it quicker than others, but I think anyone can learn. If you can learn a language, you can learn programming.
I've never done well at learning other languages, so maybe that's it. That's part of it. I can learn somewhat, but I don't know. My brain's just like one word. Yeah, maybe it's not for me. But maybe I'll try one of your
You should try
classes
one more
and
time.
find out. Yeah, should try and learn some more languages a couple more times too.
Is it your passion? Is tech your passion though?
No. And yeah, I mean, that's why we have a producer for this podcast. Because I cannot figure this stuff out. For the life of me, I'll admit it. Right.
But if you had to, we would teach you.
But if I had to, I'd attend your class. And maybe I should anyways, just for
Maybe you should
interest.
teach it.
Yeah, maybe the producer should teach it. If he's listening, he's listening. So I always ask people what social systems need to change in order to make a shift in the world or make the world a better place. But I feel like the answer for you might be school. Like,
I think most social systems should change, but I think access to education is one of them. So,
yeah. And I would ask you why, but we've just talked about it for so
yeah,
long.
I think it's a hard thing to just like. It's definitely not. Sorry, my screen is one. It's definitely not made to be inclusive or allow everyone to learn equally.
Yeah.
Especially post-secondary.
Yeah, definitely. So if you could change any system, it would be school. But what other systems would you change since you so many? I mean, I feel like all of them too, to be honest. Like a full upheave, but
I mean, obviously capitalism is failing.
definitely. It's about to explode, and an intelligent species would maybe make a plan before it imploded. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know if there's a plan, but at least people can understand programming before the end of capitalism.
Yeah.
I do think the internet and stuff, and like online learning and online mutual aid is going to change capitalism, hopefully.
Can you share more about what you mean by online mutual aid?
Even like these Facebook groups that I'm part of, where people are like starting mutual aid groups, where people are just sharing food with each other and like helping one another out, is great. Or like even YouTubers sharing information on how to do programming. I'm still a fan of like in-person learning, but I'm glad that like online learning exists where you could almost study philosophy on YouTube. Like it's different, but you have access to like so much open source software and knowledge that you couldn't have like 15, 20 years ago, or most people couldn't.
Yeah.
Like
The internet's really changed the game.
And like with just like software and stuff, I could do so much, like just stuff I could never do before. I don't think that's going to take down capitalism, but it's open source and stuff is like pretty interesting. Like I'm using a free operating system, so I don't have to pay for anything, like free and legal.
Cool. Very cool.
So
small changes.
Yeah, well, and this could be a rant, but with 3D printing and all that stuff, like you're gonna be able to print your own stuff eventually.
Cool.
So I think technology is gonna change the world, as long as it's not consumed by like capitalism.
That's the part that is tricky, because how, like, the capitalist system, like we have to work to maintain it, but like I feel like the system should work to maintain us, and I feel like that's where a lot of like technology and can come in. But I feel like a lot of people have fears around that too. I went to like a debate once for like AI, and people were debating if it was good or bad, and I was in there so excited, like, yeah, it's a great thing, but I was in the minority. Like most people were not We're not feeling where things are going.
Guess we'll see.
Right? Yeah.
It's hard to say. I'm not educated enough about AI to like actually make a real opinion.
I found out at that talk I wasn't either. Like, I didn't think of all the cons. I just thought of all the pros. I'm a big sci-fi nerd, so I was like, bring on the AI, bring on the replicator.
But I mean, with transhumanism and stuff, is like I think things will change too, especially like the more open source experimental stuff, which is seems a little dangerous, but people are developing open source medicine and lots of stuff.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, we were going to do a talk, but COVID hit. So people are developing open source medicine or ways to produce medicine using open source technologies.
Cool.
Right now, I think it's in the very dangerous phases, but yeah, it's the I'll message you later the name of the place
Yeah, that
that's
would be
doing it.
cool.
Most of it's like academics that are like in other fields. Like there's the guy that runs it has like a PhD in physics or something. So it's like super educated, smart people doing interesting projects.
Very cool. You dig it.
And you can't really hide information on the internet. So people are going to share tech information and
Yeah.
you're going to be able to build your own car one day, 3D print a car, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, we fixed our washer and dryer last week with YouTube.
Mm-hmm. It's
A
so
whole new
good.
world.
And like
Yeah.
the people that offering that information are usually doing it because they're passionate.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Free education is so, so important. Or like accessible education doesn't have to be free, but somehow accessible.
Yeah, and I think it's happening.
Yeah. Slowly. The internet gives us a lot of, like, it also gives us a lot of, I've learned a lot of things on the internet that later I had to unlearn because that was not how to
Yeah,
do it.
that's another problem is who's using the internet to spread what. But we'll just try to spread our goodness,
Yeah.
and hopefully people go with us instead of the alt-right.
Yeah. The left has good education
Mm-hmm. Based in science.
based in science. Perfect. And so, for you as an activist, where do you see yourself, I guess, in the future? But then you were saying before you don't really have future plans, so
Mm-mm.
not no urges or wants or personal classes that you want to put on.
Maybe Python class. Maybe more experimental classes with music and stuff. Like one of my good friends builds synthesizers and stuff. So that's more like my alley is like using computers to do more art-based stuff, like even projection mapping or like or doing using pure data
What does
stuff.
that mean?
Which one?
Projection mapping.
I just learned about it, but you can use a projector to kind of like map on a 3D object. So there's like if you have a I just bought an old projector, and if you use some open source software, I'm going to use MapMap. It's called MapMap, and you just kind of project. You can project onto like a square instead of just a flat screen.
Cool.
And then Pure Data is a programming language. It's a visual one. So have you ever played the guitar or any instrument?
Mhm.
So it has like things called like patches. So it's almost like you're plugging patches into patches, like
Oh.
plugging your guitar into a pedal, and you can like, but it's like all visual, and then you can just make music doing that.
Oh.
And it's all open source, so it's all free and legal.
Cool. When you say open source, can you tell the people what that means?
The exact definition, I'm not sure, but basically like it's anyone can, for the most part, anyone could use it, and it's usually free. And then like if I can you could contribute, I could contribute to the project. So we all kind of get together and contribute.
Cool.
There's
I like
different
it.
licenses for it. So like if let's say I'm trying to think of an example. I'm a company, I need software, and there's another company needs the same software. There's like a bunch of we might pay someone to develop that software that we could all kind of use it. So
Oh,
it's you could still like, make money from it. It's just that it's like open to people to like use for themselves as well.
I like that. Cool. Very cool.
So I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a leftist idea, but
Yeah.
it's like I think it's really good.
Yeah, it sounds like a good community care idea, to be honest. Just sharing of information that could be useful or sharing of like tools and knowledge.
Oh yeah, the idea is good. The community is not always good, so that's what we're trying to change it to.
Okay, well, I'm glad that there's people like you out there trying to put the good stuff out there.
Trying, yeah, and there's actually lots of good like people that are like in the community. Even in Calgary, there's lots of people that are like into that, kind of rebelling against the concept that the smartest rise to the top instead of usually the most privileged.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. And again, such an important point.
Yeah, so
But
open
what?
source. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was going to ask you another question. Please continue.
Open source is a great idea, but it has to like be more actually like more open to collaborations with diverse groups of people
What do
for the
you?
best product.
Oh, yeah, that's a better way than capitalism.
Hmm. It's like yeah, capitalism. The best and smartest don't rise to the top either. I mean, they do, but no way they don't.
Yeah,
Just the
like
lucky few.
yeah, the privilege rise to the top here, but we're
Hmm.
heading in the other direction.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
What do you think that ending digital poverty would look like?
I don't even know. Like digital education or actual hardware.
Both. Access to either.
What level? I guess the question is what level of like access would you want or we want?
Oh. So, like, what would it look like? It depends on the needs of the people.
Yeah, or like I don't know, like it's hard to say like what would they be using the technology for?
Mm.
It for me it would involve open source hardware and open source software that would be affordable and maybe they can manufacture themselves.
Yeah.
So more access to information so people in that community can build the hardware and software that they actually need. So I think
Cool.
access to more access to knowledge and resources to end it in like specifically the way they need it. Because I feel like if you give a community the proper resources, they'll build it. And
Yeah.
like we have stuff like Raspberry Pis, like kind of not open source, but more affordable computing things that people can use.
What is a Raspberry Pi?
It's a don't quote me, but it's a system on a chip. So basically, it's a Linux operated microcomputer that you can use for lots of different things like art, lots of different stuff, so much stuff.
People have tried to, I think, explain it to me before, but because it has such a wide variety of uses, I think.
It's for whatever you kind of, it's not super duper powerful, but it's powerful enough that like you could like prototype stuff or you could use it for lots of interesting uses. And a lot of it's just for people like, especially youth learning how computing works.
Cool. Very cool. Well, I feel like I learned so much today from you.
Oh, thank you.
I have one more question. Well, one and a half more questions. What is your final statement for the people?
Um, check out Linux.
I love it. Perfect. And the point five of the question is where can people find you on Facebook, Calgary Society for Equity and Technology? Do you have any other social media?
Yeah, our Instagram is YYCset, and then our website currently, I think we're getting a new one kind of rebuilt, is cset.sdf.org.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, yeah, everyone, please check it out for all these awesome classes coming up once COVID leaves us,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully soon.
I hope so too.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much. I think we killed a good 40 minutes. So this was
Yeah,
lovely. And it
hopefully
was,
my answers made sense.
they did. It was perfect. This was great. And yeah, cut.